Hello and welcome back to On the Rug. I'm your host Nisha. How was your week? How was your week? Because it's Friday and it's always like an accomplishment getting to the end of the week. I know it is for me. Last week was really good. I went to the movies and saw the Michael movie. Uh Honey, I was crying literally as soon as the Universal credit came on at the start of the movie. I was already, my friend, she was like, "Girl, are you crying already?" Yes, I'm emotional about Michael. I love Michael. I'm getting emotional thinking about it right now. Anyways, I'm going to share with you, my insight, my pros and cons of the movie. Okay. First, let's go with the positives. The pros I loved about the Michael movie was the performance Jafar, his nephew, gave of portraying him. I feel like a lot of focus was on him embodying Michael as a performance artist on stage. And he really went there. Like you could tell he trained, he worked very hard, and you could just see at certain moments in the movie that he got lost in becoming like his uncle. It was beautiful to see, because we see him kind of like transform over the counts in the movie. And we see his character evolve a bit, but then it's like he has these little moments, I think, in the thriller part and around that last performance he does in the movie, like he was really in it. He was in the bag. I was like, okay, this is great. He really went there, so I think that was awesome. He did such a great job really making us feel like we were seeing Michael perform in this day and age again. It was like as close as we're going to get, I felt like. And it was really great cinematography. I think that was awesome. But the cons that I thought from the movie, in my own personal opinion, okay, was it felt like, if your siblings made a movie about you, what their perspective would be like. It was just a lot of emphasis on the Jackson 5 era with him and his brothers. And, it was right about for him going from that time period of being managed by his father into him moving into his independence. And then like that was the end of the movie. When I feel like for those of us as fans, we really wanted to see Michael after the fact. You know what I mean? Like that's when we really was getting something like when he married Elvis Presley's daughter, when he had the interview with Oprah, when there was so many different times that a lot of us can recall. I even saw this documentary about Michael that I felt like went more in depth than the movie did about us getting to know him as a person. I was really expecting more dialogue in the script for us to understand Michael's mindset a little bit deeper. I feel like he really didn't have too many lines in the movie, and they were pretty simple. He really didn't go there. There was no depth in who Michael was, this person who was formed into an artist and having a career and a job from being a child into one of the biggest superstars in the world, and what he was going through and the conversations he was having, navigating that space. And then, that we got to see a little glimpses of his work ethic, but I've seen documentaries that went deeper into how much he was in the studio, just really practicing over and over again, and how much of a perfectionist he was because he wanted to be so great. We saw little glimpses of that, but I wanted it to go a little bit deeper into the psychology of Michael Jackson. That's what I thought it was. It was Michael. I thought it was going to be we're going in the mind of Michael. And that may have taken more in-depth conversations with various people that had experiences with him. But I felt like we were going to go there, get to the Scream era. Janet wasn't there. Maybe she didn't sign off on the movie. I don't know. But I'm like, where's Janet? She was nowhere to be found. And LaToya, from what I know, because I watched a lot of research on YouTube on Michael, their relationship wasn't the best. She said some crazy claims about him, and she was all up in the movie. They was just two peas in a pod. I don't know. Maybe that's his sister. So she know more than I do. But I'm just saying, from, you know what I mean? I'm not lying, because y'all done seen the interviews and stuff too. and the claims. And then even with Joseph, like I felt like Joseph was painted like a Marvel villain in the movie. Yes, he was abusive. Yes, he had a dark side of wanting American dream of success in its fullest exploits, like so many black fathers of that era. You know, my stepfather that raised me and my brothers. My oldest brother is his biological son, and my youngest brother is his biological son. I'm it's only like stepchild from his marriage with my mom, but he raised me since I was 4. And my dad was like a Joe Jackson, Matthew Knowles type. Like excellence is the standard. You know, he went through a lot of things racially growing up and in his own career. So he had a lot of trauma. What do we had some dark moments with him? Yes. But was it all dark? No, because I would not be who I am without that man. You know what I mean? Like it's a very complex relationship that you have with those fathers that demand and train you to become an overachiever. And it's a very complex dynamic and history behind who they are as people. And I know the movie was called Michael, it wasn't called Joseph, so we weren't going to hear his whole life story. But dang, I would have liked a little bit more depth in the writing when it came to Joseph and just where he was coming from. It was like the only thing we got is you're either a winner or a loser in this life. Like, okay, that's pretty vague. Where are we getting this from? Where's this coming from? You working at the steel mill. What is this about? You're a winner or a loser. You know, like I felt like with the writing, it didn't have to add in a whole bunch more scenes, but maybe a few bits of scene dialogue added to the film that would have given a more in-depth understanding of the character. Because there's, if with great writing, there's, you decide, you know, that's what made Denzel Washington's character in Training Day so amazing, to where he won that Oscar. It was like he was clearly a villain, but the complexity of his character made you like cheer for him in the end, because you got to see this, you know, the human elements of why he was making decisions he was making and how he was, even though he was considerably a monster. You know what I mean? So that was some of the things that I felt, you know, could have been better with the film, and I was expecting without paying my hard-earned money in this economy to go to the movies and see. But it definitely felt like his brothers and sisters made the movie. I'm just sorry. That's how it felt. And yeah, I just would have liked some more dialogue. But other than that, Jafar, amazing. He did an incredible job. Hopefully he continues to act and play other characters, because he's an incredible method actor. And yeah, much love to that family. But let's get into our show and get into our book chat, because we're going to talk about The Courage to Be Disliked and the chapter that we read about why people can change. So the opening chapter opens, y'all know I got to get my notebook. It opens with the philosopher having a conversation with the young man, because remember, the book is all about this conversation between this philosopher and this young man, right? And so the philosopher claims that not only can people change, but everyone can find happiness. And that is a very huge claim, because the young boy is like, but what about people's circumstances? What about, you know, where they're born, whatever, you know, all these different variable circumstances and things that can happen within someone's life. And a lot of times we think, okay, well, those are the determinants of what is possible for them and their ability to experience happiness. And when I initially read that part, it did strike a nerve with me, because I am someone who has experienced various bouts of trauma. I was born into grief, you know, all these different things. So it's like I have a chip on my shoulder on what I have to prove to constantly beat the odds. And that made me feel like I created the chip on my shoulder when I first read it, honestly. And it made me feel like, oh, none of all of that is what has occurred to, that has happened to you, that has happened in your life. A lot of people say, oh, it didn't happen to you, it happened for you. But no, what I got from this was a sense of deliverance and understanding. That's just what happened in the past. That's just what happened in the past. And yes, you can learn some things, but it has no determination. Like, for example, for me, I would think for a long time, especially when I first started going down this journey, stepping into uh, building a different type of business as an artist focused on art, building a business in healthcare and utilizing my skill set and the things that I have to add to that industry. And initially, I would have these bouts of doubt and depression as I was building, because I would think to myself, maybe, and I would talk to my therapist about it, like, maybe not everything's going to go well for me because look how this didn't go well for me, and maybe that's something I have to continually accept, that since I know that I'll never have a father, like my biological father, even though I had my stepdad that raised me, maybe I will never accomplish the level of success that I see for myself and envision for myself, because I really, really want a dad, but that's something I have to accept that I'll never have because of death. So when you are born into trauma, the level of grief and mental mind things that you go through emotionally is on a whole nother level constantly through your life. But the beauty is something called post-traumatic growth, which is something I've personally gone through, and the reason why I've been able to do art therapy and move forward and build and take the opposite of post-traumatic stress disorder and go towards PTG, is because of this thing that I connected with, of him saying everyone can be happy and you can change. So in their discussion, the young man asked, why does everyone want to change? Which is so important for us to first get to that. Why do we even have this desire to change? Why was I just not okay being in that state of mind of not being focused on my health? Why was I okay? Why did I want to change that? Why did I want to change the environment of the type of friendships that I have? Why did I want to change my mindset and how I talk to myself and how I talk to other people? Why did I want to change my ability to show up each day and be on time, or like all these different things that you know that you need to do to be better? Why do we even want to do that in the first place? Which is very important to articulate first, right? And so the young boy gives an example of like a friend of his who has intense anxiety and cannot leave his room. And he's saying that he can't leave his room because look at what happens every time he tries to leave the room. He gets almost paralyzed. He starts shaking in his legs and he cannot leave. And so the philosopher comes back and says, no, it's not that he can, it's that he has set a goal in mind that he doesn't want to go out. So he has manufactured this scenario to not have to do that. Now, let me go to my notes because my notes are even better. Okay, right? So what he talks about is this concept called teleology. It's a manufacturing a state to achieve a goal, right? So think about like as a parent, right? Your kid is acting up. Now, you're thinking in your mind, I've been working, I'm busy all day, I'm gone, whatever, all my things, right? Your kid's acting up or your kid's doing something, whatever. Now, you can communicate with your child and say, hey, do this or not, whatever, in a calm tone. You don't have to yell, you don't have to get violent, you don't have to do any of those things. You can just communicate with them and stay calm and until they respond. Like, you have the control over yourself. But a lot of times we feel it's like, well, they're doing this. I yelled or I said, oh, get over here. I used force to grab them over here when they weren't listening, or I used an excess of aggression in my tone. Get over here. I used that as a method to get what I want. It's not that it's the right thing to do. It's not that it's the only thing that I have. It's that I manufactured my reasoning for why I'm going to use this method to get to my goal. And for me as a parent, it really did of like, my child, she's on the spectrum. So she sometimes, the meltdowns, it can get intense. You know what I mean? And I had to realize with reading, like, okay, right, I can see this linear path of what I'm choosing to do, how I'm choosing to respond. And the moment that that really locked in for me, I have been able to be much more calmer and get, you know, better responses out of my daughter, because at the end of the day, for kids, they think everything is funny. They think you getting mad is funny. They think they think everything is hilarious, you know? So you not feeding into it and keeping your calm, it brings them around, because they're people too, figure out, oh, this ain't gonna work. And they move on, they listen and do it. And she has been responding so much better because she is at 5, and which has nothing to do with being on the spectrum. She is 5. They are intense people. They're curious. They want to figure everything out. They don't want to listen. They think they're 35. I mean, it's a lot. It's just, I'm ranting because I'm just going through so much with this 5-year-old, Lord, but that's what it lets you know. So he said teleology is that factor. So if you want to think about that for yourself also, how am I responding to things? And what am I using as excuses, as my reasoning to use this method? And what methods would I rather use? Would I rather be calm? Would I rather be reserved? Would I rather listen more? Would I rather, what would you rather do? And maybe you need to write that down so that you can start paying attention to when those moments happen and how you manufacture that. Because what the philosopher was saying is that, it's not that the symptoms that the boy were having weren't real. These feelings, the mind is it's a wild place, and when you build up this anxiety of what's going to happen, then you feel like, oh no, okay, I can't do it. I can't build the business. I can't go and do that. I can't take the trip. I can't go and do, I just, because now you're manufacturing all these different anxieties, when it's like, you just really need to look at the facts and how you want to go about getting to the goal and the way that you want to communicate. Right. So he also talked about how what we are used to is etology, right? It's etiology, and it's the study of causation. And the philosopher says, as long as we stay in etology, we will not take a single step forward. And what he's meaning by etology is that what we're used to is this space of within talk therapy. Not everybody does this, because like my therapist, for example, Lady M, I went to 3 sessions with her and I was good. Also born May 1st, according to people, Tauruses are horrible people in therapy because we will end up giving therapy to the therapist. A little bit of that happened, but no, my therapist is really good because she gave me tools in our 3 sessions that I still use to this day. And I've just been good. So there's no reason for me, because she was not about like me just going over my past over and over and over again. She was just like, okay, this is what you're doing. What you're doing is not who you are. You singing, you making these companies, you doing all these things. This is not who you are. This is not your identity. Number one, who are you? What are the facts of who you are as a daughter, as a mother, as a wife, as just not even beyond those categories, just Nisha. What does Nisha like to do? How does Nisha feel about the world? What is it? Who are you? And that is who you are, not what you do, So she helped me with that. And she also helped me with understanding the facts. You may have all these fears, all these things, but what are the facts? Because you can really base things off of that. So she was always about tools, and she gave me some great tools to where I'm not having to be in therapy 3, 4, 5 years, and she's booked and busy, so it's not like she's going to be out of business, but what he was talking about is that essence of, if we keep doing this method of therapy that's just all about, oh well, because this happened to you, that's why you're doing that, then we're not getting anywhere. Instead, what he's saying is, yes, that happened to you. That was sad. That sucks. Here we are today. How are you going to move forward? That has nothing to do with what you can do forward. You are a clean canvas that is ready for a new painting. What are you going to paint with your life? What are you going to do? And that's what's most important. 2015, I married my husband, and he is Australian. And so we had no idea about the immigration process at all. Didn't know what anything to do. So we did visit a lawyer, but we weren't pretty clear about what was going on and what to do. So he was removed. Okay. We got married, but we didn't understand about petitioning and all these different elements that come with the process. So he was the before ICE was ICE, they came and they got him, put him in the chains, threw him in the back of the truck, baby, sent him back. Okay. So I know what that trauma feels like. Um, it was horrific. We went through that process for 4 years. Uh, I always call it my Shakespeare moment in my life. It was the best of times. It was the worst of times. It was the worst of times because the love of my life was on a whole nother side of the world. And I was going through this process as a young woman in my 20s, not understanding really where I was going to take my life and what I was going to do. I wasn't making art. I was just clubbing and having a good time. I wasn't doing anything of focus. I had ended my hair business and I was lost. I really was lost. I'm going to share with you how I created this habits journal for myself. And it started helping me to read consistently. It started helping me have a self-care regimen for myself consistently, how to pour into my purpose just a little bit each day. And it also helped me with how to communicate with family and feed myself and work out with my body. And you do a little bit each day and you end up with a lot. So this is the setup for my healing habits journal. I would get like a notebook, or I love these kind of journals because they usually have like a scripture at the bottom and stuff. But I would get a journal and I would do this formula. Now, these are things that really meant a lot for me when I thought about, okay, I've got my list of my dreams and things that I want to accomplish, but who do I have to become in order to not only accomplish those things, but enjoy them and to be the person that I really want to be in the midst of that? Because I think so much is focused on just being successful and getting the money and getting there and just like having all the things, but we don't really focus on generational character as much as we focus on generational wealth. And that's something that I really find important. So I felt as though I had control in my capacity to be able to show up every day to pour into these elements of my life and to look at myself like a flower, right? So me is very, very important, right? I would feel like, okay, I want to make sure everything's in focus. So my hair, make sure it's in focus. Face mask, my skin, shaving. Sometimes we forget. Let's be real. And exfoliating, bills, right? I'm one of those people that I write down, itemize every bill, every cent, what's coming on, budget. Certain things I just will not do because I'm like, oh, nope, it's not within my budget. It's not within, I'll wait or whatever. That's a discipline. It's a hard discipline, but it's definitely doable, because then you start thinking about what really matters most. And having the ability to start being able to tell yourself no is also what this formula helps you do, because you may get invited to go out to the club, but you're like, oh no, I've got to do my hair today. I got to do my face mask. Or it also helps you understand how to deal with the nuance of circumstances with life. Sometimes things happen and you're not able to get to your hair today on this date that you put down. You're not able to get to your face mask. Maybe you're only able to get to your bills today because something happened or whatever. And that's okay. You want to make sure to check off what you do finish, and what you don't, you can fill in that box or leave it empty and move it over to the next day and try your best to get to it. Because there would be weeks where I would move it and shift it, and then by the end of the week I did accomplish all the things that I wanted to get done in that one day. So it teaches you also how to triumph even with nuance that occurs in your life, and how to keep pushing forward with the ebbs and flows. You want to make sure that you're eating well. Your body is not only your temple, but it's your vehicle in order to do great things in this life. So what are you eating for breakfast? What are you having for lunch? What are you having for dinner? There would be times where I would not make the best decision, and then I look back at my journal and I realize, okay, that's why we've gained this weight. Look at what we were eating. Or, oh, wow, I'm feeling good. This is why. These are the meals that I ate. And, so you definitely want to keep track of that. You may already be doing that in some form of app, because I did move on to like an like a fitness app that had like recipes and things in it and stuff, but I would still write down manually in my journal like what I was having. And it helps you like map dinner and things out too, so that when people start asking what we having for dinner, you already got it written down and you ready, right? uh Fitness, very important. My body, 30-minute walks. I also do weights and strength training. There's so many amazing people on YouTube. I also do Grow with Joe's fitness workouts, but I try to do 30 minutes of walking. That has helped me lose so much weight and helps me just get some good sunlight, go walk outside, get some good vitamin D, get that UV red light in your skin. It's so good for you. So definitely for me, fitness was important. What I was eating for my body, taking care of myself, my beauty is important, and my purpose. Now, your purpose is a journey. For me, I've poured into myself through reading various different books that have helped me, and then also putting into practice whatever that is, right? So I would always have two action items, some type of form of reading material that I would be studying from, and then also some type of action. So I was trying to think to myself, okay, what was I doing around that time? And my first step was you got to build momentum and put some action in getting yourself out there. And sometimes your items are not things that are going to get you validated, but are more so going to mentally validate you to not doubt yourself. So for me, it was, if you're going to do this show, you're going to put this show together, first go online and list 5 potential venues that you would like to reach out to get their pricing. And then I would check that off. And that's what I did, and continue to take those steps and read. And then eventually I produced my show that is on the YouTube channel. Love for me is very important. Now, love for you may mean different things. What do you want your life to look like? It may be that I wrote these things because this is before I had children, before I had a child. Now, love for me is showing up for my daughter, making sure to spend quality time with her, even if it's setting a timer for 30 minutes of us having playtime at night and then getting into the other things I need to do. Intentional time is what love is all about. Being intentional with your time of prayer and meditation, and being intentional with calling or texting or spending time with your loved ones. It doesn't have to be you spending hours on end with your children or hours on end with your family members on the phone, but 5 minutes, a good, hey, how are you doing? I was thinking about you text. I've seen it in my life go a long way, where times I've called a family member and they were like, wow, you really didn't know how much I needed this today. Or you crossed my mind, or like you really don't understand how much your presence is powerful in your loved ones' lives until you just show up consistently, or you just show up genuinely just wanting to love on them. Like, it really pays off for you and for them. So this is what my life is molded around. I don't do anything outside of this mode, right? Uh, I may do some different things, but if it ain't helping benefit this, I don't have nothing to do with it, okay? Whether it's friendships, relationships, jobs, situations, whatever. If it ain't building into my habits or my program that I'm building for my life, then it ain't for me. And that is how you have to look at it. I've moved on now to time blocking, which we'll go over that. But yeah, I wanted to show you guys.
Free woman, making my own rules. Pour salt on my own wounds. Cut deals never seen before. Free woman, letting my wings soar. Good love, I need more. Can I get it from you? Allow yourself to be all you were called to be. Be free. Allow yourself to live in liberty, like Lady Liberty. Step over the chains, no longer shrinking, no more hiding. The world is waiting for you. Love is aching for you. Don't keep me waiting, anticipating to fly. Yes, you and I. Right through the stars, flip off Mars, drive fast cars, enhance your dreams, upgrade your scenes, have the time of your life, live your wildest dreams, allow yourself to be all you were called to be free. Allow yourself to live in liberty, like Lady Liberty. You step over the chains, no longer shrinking, no more hiding. The world is waiting for you. Love is aching for you.